Through eons, this truth has been guarded by mystics and sages, veiled not to hide it, but to protect its sanctity until the soul was ripe to receive it. And now, as the veil thins and humanity begins to stir from its long forgetting, the divine key calls to you, not to teach, but to help you remember. You are not apart from the infinite force that birthed galaxies and breathed stars into being. You are a unique expression of it, entrusted with the power to create worlds through thought, word, and belief. When you return to this remembrance, the fulfillment of your desires flows with the ease of breath, the rhythm of dawn. The illusions of lack, effort, and separation are but temporary shadows cast by the light of your unclaimed divinity. And now, that light grows stronger. The same intelligence that blooms the rose and steadies the sun now waits in stillness within you, ready to move at the command of your awakened awareness. You stand not on the edge of change, but at the gates of your own rebirth. The key has never been hidden. It has always been in your hand. As you turn it, you will not become something new. You will remember what you have always been. The chrysalis has cracked. The wings of your infinite self are ready to unfold. Part 1. The Awakening of the Divine Spark. Chapter 1. The Forgotten Temple of Infinite Riches. In a village among ancient hills lived Eleanor, a seamstress whose skilled hands crafted garments for the townsfolk. One autumn morning, while retrieving a fallen needle, she noticed peculiar markings beneath a loose floorboard. As she lifted more boards, intricate symbols emerged, spirals of prosperity, circles of abundance, and sacred geometries that seemed to pulse with hidden meaning. Following the patterns deeper, Eleanor discovered her modest cottage had been built upon the foundation of a forgotten temple. The symbols spoke of infinite wealth flowing through sacred vessels, of divine consciousness manifesting as material abundance. What appeared to be a simple dwelling was, in truth, a gateway to universal prosperity. Your physical form and consciousness are much like Eleanor's cottage, a sacred temple built upon foundations of infinite potential. Within this living sanctuary exist chambers of divine creative power. Your thoughts form the altar where intentions become reality. Your emotions create the sacred oils that anoint manifestation, and your beliefs shape the very walls through which abundance flows. Each chamber of your consciousness must be consecrated, cleansed of doubts that dim its radiance. When you recognize your body as a holy vessel of creation, every breath becomes a prayer of gratitude, every heartbeat a pulse of divine abundance. This truth was exemplified by Nathaniel, a merchant who inherited his grandfather's modest shop. For years he searched every corner of the store for rumored hidden treasure, checking behind loose bricks and beneath weathered floorboards. His obsession with finding external wealth nearly drove the business to ruin. One night, exhausted from another fruitless search, Nathaniel sat in quiet desperation. In that moment of stillness, wisdom dawned. His grandfather's true legacy wasn't buried gold, but the understanding that the shop itself was a vessel for divine abundance. When Nathaniel began treating his business as a sacred space where prosperity could flow freely, wealth naturally followed. Like Nathaniel, you need not search outside yourself for the source of abundance. The infinite riches of the universe already flow through your divine consciousness, waiting only for recognition. Ancient practice, the temple of consciousness. Create a dedicated space in your home, a corner, a small table, or an entire room. This becomes your physical reminder of the temple within. Each morning, sit in this sacred space and speak these words. I am a living temple of divine abundance. Through my consciousness flows the infinite wealth of the universe. In gratitude, I open every chamber of my being to receive the blessings that are my birthright. Let your body become still as you feel the truth of these words resonating through every cell. Maintain this practice for at least 5 minutes daily, allowing the recognition of your divine nature to deepen with each session. Chapter 2. The Voice of Divine Guidance. For countless seasons, Samuel tended the lighthouse on Storm's End Point, his steady hand guiding ships through treacherous waters. Through howling gales and blinding fog, a mysterious voice would whisper in his ear, directing him to adjust the great beam at precisely the right moment. 3 degrees westward, it would murmur, or now is the time to sound the horn. Without fail, these whispered commands saved vessels from disaster. Sailors spoke of Samuel's uncanny ability to know exactly where each ship struggled, even in the darkest night. They called him the Oracle of the Point, believing he possessed supernatural sight. Yet Samuel himself remained humble, attributing his success to the guiding voice he assumed came from some higher power. Only in his final year of service did Samuel discover the truth. The voice had always been his own. The wisdom that saved countless lives emerged from the depths of his own illuminated heart, his divine consciousness speaking through what he'd mistaken for external guidance. Like Samuel, you have been seeking direction from outside yourself, straining to hear messages from beyond. Yet the universe speaks through you, not to you. That still, small voice of intuition, the knowing that precedes thought, is your own God consciousness illuminating the path ahead. This truth was beautifully demonstrated by Margaret, a traveler who lost her way in the ancient wood. For 3 days she struggled with maps and markers, second-guessing each turn, growing more lost with every calculated decision. Exhausted and afraid, she finally surrendered her need to figure it out. In that moment of letting go, she felt a gentle pull in her heart, like a golden thread drawing her forward. Following this subtle guidance, Margaret found herself moving with newfound grace through the forest. Without consulting her maps, she was led to hidden paths and secret clearings that brought her exactly where she needed to be. What seemed like surrender became her salvation. Your journey mirrors Margaret's wanderings. When you cease struggling to find your way through external signs and instead attune to the wisdom flowing from your heart center, the path reveals itself naturally. Your divine self knows the way it has always known. Sacred practice, the awakening of inner guidance. Each morning before the world stirs to wakefulness, sit in sacred silence for 10 minutes. Place your hand upon your heart center and ask your divine self for guidance. Let your breath become soft and rhythmic. As thoughts arise, let them pass like clouds, neither grasping nor resisting. Listen deeply to the whispered wisdom that emerges from your heart, not as words, but as knowing. This is your own God consciousness speaking, showing you the way forward with perfect clarity. Chapter 3. The Mirror of Infinite Wealth. In the heart of an ancient marketplace stood Theodore's humble cobbler shop, where he spent his days mending the worn soles of travelers' shoes. Each morning he watched Silk Road merchants stride past his door, their coin purses heavy with gold, their faces bright with prosperity. With each passing figure, Theodore's heart grew heavier with longing and envy. One day, as he sat brooding in his doorway, an elderly woman wrapped in simple cloth approached. She watched him watching the merchants, her eyes twinkling with ancient wisdom. "You see them as separate from yourself," she said, "but what draws your eye is your own divine nature recognizing itself." Theodore scoffed, gesturing at his weathered hands and modest surroundings. But the wise woman continued, "The abundance you admire flows from the same divine source that dwells within you. Your attraction to their prosperity is your soul's recognition of its own potential." Through her teachings, Theodore began to understand that each wealthy merchant was a mirror, reflecting back the infinite abundance that lay dormant in his own divine consciousness. His envy transformed into gratitude as he realized these successful individuals were not his oppressors, but his teachers, living demonstrations of the prosperity that was his natural birthright. This truth finds echo in the tale of Vivian, a young servant who worked in a grand mansion. Each day, as she polished silver and dusted crystal chandeliers, bitterness would rise in her heart at the stark contrast between her employer's luxury and her own simple means. Yet one morning, as sunlight streamed through stained glass windows, casting rainbow patterns across marble floors, Vivian experienced a profound shift in perception. The beauty that had tormented her suddenly felt familiar, as if her soul had known it all along. She realized her ability to appreciate such splendor was not a curse of her station, but her divine self preparing her consciousness to receive similar blessings. The mansion's opulence was not mocking her lack, it was awakening her awareness of abundance as her natural state. Every crystal goblet she polished, every silk tapestry she tended, became not a reminder of what she didn't have, but a reflection of the prosperity that already existed within her divine nature, waiting to be expressed. Sacred practice, mirror of divine abundance. Find a quiet moment each day to gather images that represent the wealth and success you desire. As you gaze upon each one, place your hand over your heart and speak these words with conviction. This reflects the divine abundance that flows through me. Let each image serve not as a reminder of what you lack, but as a mirror showing you what already exists within your divine nature, waiting to be expressed in your physical reality. Chapter 4, The Seed of Unlimited Creation. In a valley where drought had turned fertile land to dust, Franklin stood among his withered crops, his calloused hands trembling as he held a single mysterious seed. Unlike any he had ever seen, it gleamed with an inner light that seemed to pulse with life. As he studied its intricate patterns, wisdom stirred in his heart. This tiny vessel contained within it the complete design for an entire forest, waiting only for soil and faith to unleash its infinite potential. Through nights of doubt and days of labor, Franklin tended this seed with reverence, understanding that its power lay not in its size, but in its divine connection to the creative force that birthed all life. As the first shoots emerged, they carried an otherworldly vitality that spread to the surrounding soil. Soon, where barren earth had stretched to the horizon, abundance burst forth in waves of green life. Just as this seed held the pattern for endless forests, your consciousness carries the divine blueprint for unlimited creation. The same force that orchestrates the dance of planets and paints the northern lights flows through your thoughts and intentions. Every desire you hold is a seed of divine potential, waiting only for the fertile soil of faith and the water of unwavering belief to manifest in physical form. This truth echoes in the tale of Charlotte, who spent years doubting the worth of her art. Each time she approached her canvas, inner critics whispered of inadequacy. Yet one evening, as golden light filtered through her studio windows, she experienced a moment of crystal clarity. The creative impulses flowing through her were not her own limited abilities, but the infinite creative force of the universe seeking expression through her unique vessel. In that moment of surrender, her brush moved with divine authority, channeling visions that transcended her human doubts. She realized she had never been the source of her creativity, but rather a sacred channel through which universal creativity flowed freely when she stepped aside and allowed it. Your desires are not random wishes born of human wanting. They are divine impulses seeking physical expression through your consciousness. When you align with this truth, manifestation becomes as natural as a flower turning toward sunlight. Sacred seed practice is select a seed that calls to your spirit, hold it gently in your palm and close your eyes. Feel its connection to the infinite creative force of the universe. Visualize your greatest desire taking root and growing with the same divine certainty that transforms a seed into a flower. Speak your intention aloud as you plant the seed in fertile soil. As this seed contains a forest, my consciousness contains infinite creative power. Through divine law, my intention now takes root in the fertile soil of universal abundance. Water your seed daily, knowing that as it grows, so too does your manifestation in the physical world. Chapter 5, The Sacred Discontent That Calls You Higher. In the marble halls of a prestigious bank, Harold moved through his days surrounded by wealth, yet haunted by an inexplicable emptiness. His vault held fortunes, his title commanded respect, yet a persistent whisper in his soul spoke of greater possibilities. One night, in the depths of sleep, he found himself standing before a magnificent door adorned with ancient symbols. As it opened, light poured forth, revealing not more gold or precious gems, but a vision of himself radiating healing energy that transformed everything he touched. Upon waking, Harold understood. His restlessness was not a flaw to be corrected, but a divine signal calling him toward his true destiny. Like a butterfly, feeling the first stirrings of wings within its chrysalis, his soul was outgrowing the comfortable confines he had accepted as his life. This sacred discontent you feel, the quiet, knowing that you are meant for more, flows from the same divine source that stirs the seasons to change and prompts seeds to push through soil toward sunlight. Your unwillingness to settle for mediocrity is the voice of your God consciousness awakening you to your true nature and infinite potential. Consider Rosalind, whose mansion overlooked the sea and whose coffers overflowed with inherited wealth. Yet each morning she woke feeling hollow, until divine guidance led her to distribute her fortune and embrace a simple life in a mountain village. There, her true gifts emerged, hands that could ease pain, words that could mend broken spirits. As she followed this calling, abundance flowed to her in ways money never could. Her home became a sanctuary of healing, filled with the treasures of transformed lives and grateful hearts. Your divine nature cannot be satisfied with mere material comfort, because it knows the truth of who you are, a being of unlimited creative power, meant to express gifts that will transform the world. The restlessness you feel is not punishment, but promotion, calling you to rise from the slumber of limitation into the full expression of your divine potential. Sacred fire practice. Take a piece of paper and write a letter addressing your divine self. Express gratitude for the sacred discontent that has awakened you from the dream of limitation. Thank this divine restlessness for refusing to let you settle for less than the magnificent life that matches your true nature. When your heart has spoken its full truth on paper, Find a safe place outdoors, under the open sky. Light the letter with a flame, and as it burns, declare aloud, I release all resistance to my highest calling. As these words transform to ash and smoke, I embrace the divine destiny that calls to my soul. Chapter 6. The Veil of Unworthiness. In a small village among healing springs, Agnes tended to the sick with hands that seemed to channel divine light. Her touch eased pain, her presence brought peace, yet she lived in poverty, refusing all offerings of gratitude. The gift flows through me freely, she would say, so I must give it freely. Yet as her own health declined and her cottage fell into disrepair, the divine wisdom spoke through an unexpected source. A blind elder she had healed returned, not with payment, but with truth. Your refusal of abundance does not make you holy, he said. When you reject the prosperity that flows naturally from your gifts, you dam the river of divine energy that seeks to bless both giver and receiver. These words pierced the veil of Agnes's false humility. She saw how her sense of unworthiness had become a barrier, not just to her own prosperity, but to the full expression of divine healing through her. As she began accepting the abundant flow that naturally followed her work, her gifts expanded. Her cottage transformed into a sanctuary where healing and prosperity flowed as one divine stream. This illusion of unworthiness that Agnes faced dwells not just in her story, but in your consciousness. It was planted there by those who mistook spiritual wealth for material greed, who taught you that accepting abundance somehow diminished your divine connection. Yet the universe knows no such limitation. Its nature is infinite expansion, endless giving and receiving in perfect balance. Edmund's tale mirrors this truth from another angle. His music carried the power to stir souls, yet he performed only in empty halls, believing himself unworthy of appreciation. One day, a young girl wandered into his solitary concert. Tears streamed down her face as the music touched something deep within her. Your music helped me feel God's love, she said simply. How can you keep such a gift hidden? Her innocent wisdom shattered Edmund's self-imposed prison of unworthiness. He realized that his divine gift was never meant for empty rooms. It was a channel for sacred energy, meant to touch hearts and transform lives. As he began sharing his music openly, abundance naturally followed, not because he sought it, but because he finally allowed the divine flow to move through him unobstructed. Stand before your mirror each morning. Look deeply into your own eyes, the windows of your divine soul. Speak these words with growing conviction. I am worthy of infinite abundance because I am a divine being created in the image of perfect love. Let this truth penetrate every cell until you feel the barriers of unworthiness dissolving in the light of your own divine recognition. Chapter 7. The Sacred Breath of Manifestation. In the silence of a mountain monastery, Walter discovered a truth that would transform the ancient art of manifestation. Each morning, as dawn painted the stone walls with golden light, he noticed a peculiar pattern. His prayers manifested with startling precision when his breath found a certain sacred rhythm. This wasn't mere coincidence, but a gateway to divine creation itself. Your breath carries more power than you have imagined. It is not simply air flowing in and out of your lungs, but the very force of creation moving through your being. When you breathe consciously, you tap into the same divine current that sustains galaxies and nurtures seeds into mighty trees. Each breath becomes a bridge between your earthly experience and your divine nature. The universe speaks in the language of rhythm, the tide's eternal dance, the phases of the moon, the season's graceful turn. Your breath, when aligned with this cosmic tempo, transforms into a powerful tool of manifestation. As you inhale, you draw in not just air, but the infinite potential of the universe. As you exhale, you release not just breath, but all barriers to your highest good. In a distant valley, Millicent learned this same truth through her work with expectant mothers. She observed how women who breathed in harmony with life's creative force experienced births filled with grace and ease. The breath that brings forth new life, she would say, carries the same power that manifests all dreams into being. Through years of attending births, Millicent recognized that every manifestation follows the same pattern as birth, a rhythm of receiving and releasing, of drawing in divine power and letting go of resistance. The mothers who surrendered to this sacred rhythm found themselves carried by a force greater than their own strength. Your desires await birth through this same divine breath. Like Millicent's mothers, you can learn to breathe in sync with the universe's creative pulse. Each conscious breath aligns you more perfectly with the flow of infinite abundance. The ancient ones preserved this sacred breathing practice. Inhale for 7 counts, drawing in golden light that fills every cell of your being. Hold this divine breath for 7 counts, feeling deep gratitude for your desires already fulfilled in the eternal now. Then exhale for 7 counts, releasing all doubt and limitation into the infinite light. This rhythm aligns you with the cosmic heartbeat, transforming you into a conscious channel for manifestation. Chapter 8, The Flame That Attracts All Good. In a small village among ancient hills, Clarence the blacksmith made an extraordinary discovery. His forge, unlike others in the region, never required new fuel. While fellow craftsmen constantly fed their fires with wood and coal, Clarence's flame burned steadily, powered by something far more potent than earthly materials. One dawn, as he watched the flames dance, understanding illuminated his mind. This sacred fire drew its strength from the love he poured into each piece he crafted. With this realization, his humble forge transformed. Merchants began traveling great distances, drawn by an inexplicable force they couldn't name. His creations, though simple, carried a quality that transcended mere craftsmanship. Abundance flowed effortlessly, and miracles became commonplace in his workshop. Within your heart burns this same eternal flame, a divine magnetism that naturally attracts all that aligns with your highest purpose. This sacred fire requires no external sustenance, for it is fueled by the infinite love of the universe itself. As you recognize and nurture this flame through gratitude and conscious awareness of your divine nature, its magnetic power intensifies, drawing to you experiences, opportunities, and blessings that perfectly match your soul's highest expression. In another time, Beatrice, whose gentle hands crafted candles for the village temple, noticed something remarkable. Certain candles she created while in deep prayer seemed to defy natural law. Their flames burned bright and steady, never diminishing. Those who received these special candles reported mysterious blessings, their homes filled with unexpected abundance, their hearts lighter with joy. Through patient observation, Beatrice understood that objects created with divine intention become vessels of permanent blessing. Her candles carried not just light, but the very essence of divine abundance, multiplying prosperity wherever they burned. When you awaken to the eternal flame within your heart, allowing it to infuse your thoughts and actions with divine light, you become like Beatrice's blessed candles, a permanent source of abundance that enriches all who cross your path. This sacred fire transforms not just your own experience, but radiates divine magnetism that elevates everyone in your presence. To kindle this flame, find a quiet moment each evening. Place your hand upon your heart center, and with each breath, visualize a golden flame growing brighter within. Speak words of love and gratitude, feeling the warmth of divine magnetism spreading through your being. I am one with the eternal flame of divine love. Through me flows infinite abundance, blessing all of life. Chapter 9, The Language of Divine Signs. Throughout the ages, signs and symbols have whispered divine wisdom to those with eyes to see and hearts to understand. Florence, a merchant who traversed distant lands, discovered this sacred truth through her journeys. While others relied on maps and markers, she learned to read the language of the universe itself, watching how clouds gathered before dawn, observing the patterns of migrating birds, and studying the ancient dance of stars across the night sky. At first, she thought these natural signs merely guided her physical path. Yet as her awareness deepened, she realized the universe was leading her toward something far greater. The same wind that shaped the clouds guided her to marketplaces at precisely the right moment. The birds she followed led her to unexpected opportunities. The stars she trusted revealed timing so perfect it could only be divine orchestration. The universe speaks the same sacred language to you at every moment. Those recurring numbers that catch your eye, the chance meetings that shift your path, the inner knowing that pulls you in a certain direction, these are not mere coincidences, but divine communications guiding you toward your highest good. When you attune yourself to this celestial conversation, you begin to see that every experience carries a message, every encounter holds meaning, and every moment offers guidance. Percival, a dedicated scholar, spent countless hours poring over ancient manuscripts in search of universal truths. His breakthrough came not in dusty tomes, but in the living library of daily experience. The wisdom he sought began appearing everywhere, in casual conversations with strangers, in lyrics floating from passing windows, in random passages his eyes fell upon. What seemed like ordinary moments revealed themselves as vessels of divine guidance. Like Percival, you may have been seeking answers in expected places while the universe has been speaking to you through every facet of your experience. The person who mentions exactly what you've been thinking about, the book that falls open to the perfect page, the sudden inspiration that arrives in dreams, these are all languages of divine communication. To deepen your connection with this sacred guidance, begin a Divine Signs journal. For 7 days, record every synchronicity, meaningful coincidence, and intuitive prompting you experience. Note the numbers that repeatedly appear, and the themes that emerge in conversations, and the subtle ways your inner wisdom speaks to you. After 7 days, review your entries, looking for patterns in how the universe has been illuminating your path. This practice will attune your consciousness to the constant stream of divine guidance that surrounds you. Chapter 10, The Crown of Divine Authority over Reality. In the ancient hills where countless shepherds had grazed their flocks through generations, Augustus tended his sheep with the same quiet resignation that marked his father's face and his grandfather's before him. Each day blended into the next until that fateful morning when his staff struck something metallic beneath the soil. As he brushed away centuries of earth, a golden crown emerged, its jewels still brilliant despite ages of darkness. With trembling hands, Augustus lifted the crown. Something stirred in his soul, a remembrance of forgotten majesty. As he placed it upon his head, wisdom flooded his consciousness. He saw that his life of limitation had been but a dream, a temporary forgetting of his true nature as a divine sovereign of reality itself. You too were born wearing an invisible crown of celestial authority. This divine birthright grants you absolute dominion over your thoughts, emotions, and circumstances. Like Augustus, you have walked through life unaware of the royal power flowing through your veins, believing yourself subject to conditions rather than their master. In a humble village where poverty had long been accepted as fate, lived Cordelia, who spent her days washing other people's linens in the river. Yet within her burned the recognition of a truth most had forgotten, that divinity itself flowed through her words and will. When drought threatened the village crops, she spoke with the authority of her divine nature, commanding the rains to fall in perfect measure. When illness swept through the community, her words carried healing power that restored health to all who heard them. Cordelia never left her simple life by the river, yet she transformed an entire village through the conscious use of her divine authority. Those who once saw her as merely a washerwoman began to recognize the light of royalty that had always shone in her eyes. Her words became living demonstrations of the creative power that flows through all who remember their celestial heritage. To awaken this same divine authority within yourself, create a sacred ceremony of remembrance. Find a quiet space where you can be undisturbed. Fashion a crown from whatever materials resonate with your spirit, or simply use your imagination to sense one resting above your brow. Place this crown upon your head while speaking these words. I now reclaim my divine authority as a sovereign creator of my reality. With your crown in place, speak 3 commands into areas of your life where you have felt powerless. Let your words carry the full weight of your divine authority, knowing that the same power that crafts galaxies now flows through your conscious command. Feel the truth of your celestial heritage awakening in every cell of your being as you exercise this sacred birthright of creation. Part 2, The Cultivation of Divine Consciousness. Chapter 11, The Garden Where Miracles Grow. In the fertile valley where generations of farmers had coaxed life from the soil, Ezra stood before his grandmother's abandoned garden, his own fields having yielded nothing but disappointment. The key she had left him felt warm in his palm as he unlocked the rusty gate. Inside, amid the wild tangles of neglect, he discovered her weathered journal, its chapters filled with curious wisdom about a different kind of cultivation. Night after night, Ezra followed his grandmother's instructions, planting not just seeds but sacred thoughts in the soil. To his amazement, where he had planted thoughts of abundance, golden flowers bloomed by morning. When he whispered gratitude into the earth, fruit trees heavy with sweetness appeared within days. Yet in corners where his doubts crept in, every seedling withered, teaching him that thoughts, like seeds, produce after their own kind. Your mind is such a garden, a sacred plot of divine consciousness, where every thought takes root and grows into the reality you experience. Each worry, fear, or limitation you allow to remain becomes a thorny vine, choking out the magnificent blooms of your true potential. But when you cultivate thoughts aligned with your divine nature, thoughts of abundance, love, and infinite possibility, you create a paradise of manifestation. In a distant city, Imogene tended the finest greenhouse anyone had ever seen. Her plants flourished beyond explanation until she noticed a curious pattern. On days when her heart brimmed with appreciation, every flower reached toward the sun with extraordinary vigor. But in moments of complaint or anxiety, even the hardiest plants would droop, their leaves turning yellow despite perfect physical care.